Avert thine eyes, those who are weak of heart or character, for behind this very sheet lies a creature of most unimagined terror. Clutch your children close and despair.
I am not nice, I am not kind, and I am not wonderful.
Yeah, that is absolutely terrifying. So I guess this is a Halloween video. Haha! One of my previous videos, Ben Shapiro is bad at debate and so is Charisma on Command, recently passed 10,000 views. Well, thanks everyone for helping me pass that. I'm in the big leagues now. So because that one did so well, this is gonna be the sequel. Oh yes, I can hardly wait. You're probably familiar with Ben Shapiro's BBC interview. It's several months old now. But guess what? Charisma on Command also made a video about that. So today we're going to go over that. Let's begin.
A recent Ben Shapiro interview has gotten a lot of attention. In case you haven't seen it, Ben got into a heated argument with BBC's Andrew Neil and eventually walked out of the interview.
I'm not inclined to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Now, Ben is no stranger to these kinds of arguments, so it was surprising to see how many people felt like he lost or was even quote-unquote destroyed.
I mean, is it really a surprise? No, Ben Shapiro is no stranger to confrontation, but he is a stranger to unsympathetic and competent opponents. And yes, while Andrew Neil is a conservative, he is a competent and unsympathetic opponent in this debate. In this interview. It doesn't matter. Cut that out.
Let's start out with Ben's posture. Throughout the interview, he often leans forward and tends to lower his head.
Hey, Charisma. I don't know if you know this, but that's always his posture. Seriously, pull up any video with Ben Shapiro in it. Any interview, any debate, any of his Daily Wire well, okay, maybe, you know what, maybe don't pull it up. It might poison your algorithmic recommendations. I should not be encouraging self-harm on this channel. But if you did, you'd always see his posture. You know, at first I thought that Shapiro just read one of those how to be charismatic books that publishers make to sell and scam insecure people. Yeah, you know the kind. And he read the part where if you tilt your head down and look like this, you look assertive and aggressive and people are intimidated by you. And then he just decided, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I'll just do that all the time now because deep inside I'm still that pathetic, snot-nosed little kid. Everyone bullied and now no one will ever bully me again because they'll be afraid of me now because I'm the bully. But I'm actually just starting to think that Shapiro's spine might just be shaped like that.
Contrast this with Jordan Peterson in the Kathy Newman interview, where he leans back in a more relaxed posture.
See? He couldn't find a video of Ben Shapiro doing it, so he went with Jordan Peterson. Of course, Charisma on Command isn't exactly wrong here, but do you guys find it weird that some people exist who actually put this much thought and analysis into body posture? You know, I'd argue body posture is usually not a conscious decision. Rather, it belies your personality and current state of mind.
Another thing that you'll notice about Ben's body language is that he frequently smirks.
Oh man, smirking? Seriously? Don't tell him about his face cam videos. Or his Instagram, for that matter.
In a genuine smile, the eyes will show tension, while just about everything else in the face, with the exception of your mouth, is relaxed. Sometimes your jaw will even be open. And we interpret these genuine smiles positively because first, the tension around the eyes is hard to fake, so you know it's real. And second, it's incredibly open. You cannot really hide a smile. A smirk, on the other hand, is a partial contraction, and this is something that might happen when you're trying to restrain laughter. It can often be interpreted by other people as if you think that you are superior, and when someone is on the other side of a smirk, they often don't appreciate it.
This part where he's explaining how smiles work, you know, it kind of sounds like someone, like an alien, trying to teach another alien how to act human. Is this an introductory video that the men in black use? Crinkle the sides of your eyes. Make eye contact. Raise your cheeks. Show your teeth. And don't forget to smile. Someone took a freeze frame from that previous Ben Shapiro video and told me I looked like a serial killer. That was for you, baby. Before we move on from the subject of smirking and trying to act human, you may be interested in looking at Charisma on Command's Instagram. He hasn't really posted much in the last year or so, but if you look at what he's got on there, you might make a guess why. Like this one, don't wait for permission. So not only does that look horrible, but look at him. Looks like a fuckboy. Hi, fuckboy celiac attack here. You can tell I'm doing a fuckboy for this sketch because my shirt is so tight. Really, the only thing tighter than this is my tiny little, oh God. Being polite at the expense of authenticity serves no one. Well, that's a good way to get fired from your retail job. Ask anyone who knows me. I have a tendency to be a loudmouth asshole. Guess what? When I go into work, I shut that off. You know, unless I'm making YouTube videos, I guess. Oh, and look, it's Tyler Durden. Live your philosophy without forcing others. Yo, I guess while that may not be a bad idea on itself, you're gonna quote Fight Club at me, dog? Really? You are not your fucking DVDs? He really does look like a fuckboy, doesn't he? I know that's coming from me, but whatever.
Now, the next thing that can promote more argumentative versus collaborative behavior is the way that you answer questions. You can do it literally or you can be playful.
So put short, this section also isn't entirely incorrect, but it does go counter to some of the arguments made in Charisma on Command's previous video, 7 Reasons Why Ben Shapiro is So Dominant in Debates. I mean, this part is really just where it begins.
And there's nothing wrong with answering questions literally, especially when things are going well. But when you're in an argument, being playful is often much to your advantage because it shows the other person that you aren't singularly focused on winning points with every single exchange. You draw focus away from those contentious points, as Russell Brand shows in this next clip.
Work. Gandhi, go.
Gandhi, go.
I hope that's not your message to Gandhi and the people of India.
It's funny though because I travel a lot. And
All these people are at work, are they?
Yeah, they're working.
They're just at work.
Well, no.
Work more quietly.
Okay, so first off, I had no idea what the fuck was going on here, so I pulled up the interview, right? I guess this whole thing is just supposed to be Russell Brand being drunk on drugs. I know he's been really open about having a history with these things, but I can never really tell what's going on with him. Regardless, as you may have noticed, this quote he used is not an argument. Hey, wait a minute. I thought you were supposed to catch non-arguments. That's literally your first point in the other video. What the fuck are you doing, Charisma on Command? The way Charisma on Command mentioned this, I don't know. I was expecting a bit of confrontation between Brand and the Morning Joe people. You know, something that created some tension. But what happened here is he's promoting his comedy tour. Is it a comedy tour or is it just a tour? Is Russell Brand a comedian?
That sounds dead serious, though.
Yeah, it's funny when you do it as a joke. I don't take it seriously. I just want to do it on stage.
Can't we get 30 seconds now?
Well, not really, love. I mean,
Gandhi,
this is
go.
our work. Gandhi, go.
Gandhi, go.
They asked him if he could do a bit, and he says, well, he can't. And then he completely derails it. Choo-choo, motherfucker. He turns around and starts shouting at off-camera employees.
All these people are at work, are they?
Yeah, they're working.
They're just at work.
Well, no.
Work more quietly.
They're Facebooking, actually.
What are they doing?
Facebooking.
They're Facebooking.
Yeah. Shopping.
I bet they can't look at pornography. I bet it's blocked on their websites, huh?
Oh, I don't know.
They look pretty focused.
What are you doing? Look at these people. They're not amused. They're trying to work and they're being harassed by this lunatic.
Kinky boots time. Wow.
I seriously do not understand why Charisma on Command used this clip. The mood here is very laid back and Russell Brand comes across as kind of jovial. It's a completely different context. It is a completely different context and does not fit with the argument Charisma on Command is trying to make. I get what he's trying to say. He's trying to say that having an attitude like Brand's can help diffuse a tense situation, but in this Brand interview, there's nothing to be diffused. There's no contentious points that he needs to draw away focus from. He's just there to promote his tour, but then he starts going off on a tangent, rambling about the media taking things out of context to promote their own agenda.
The thing I enjoy most is stand-up comedy because you're direct with your audience. You can't be misinterpreted. People can't get confused. You know what happens if you work in media? People like to change the information so that it suits a particular agenda. If you're in a room with people, then what you're saying is clear.
Like there wasn't any tension before, but now there is, Brand. Good job. That kind of happens after the clips that Charisma Command used, though, so yeah. The only meaningful reason I can come up with for why Charisma used this clip is to advertise a future video that was coming out.
And by the way, based on all of your feedback, we will have a full breakdown of that Russell Brand interview on the channel soon.
But, my esteemed colleagues, our time on this mortal coil is limited, so it is not worth ours.
The higher level point here is that if someone is making a remark at your expense, or if things start to get heated, try to go in a joking direction like Russell did. Imagine if Ben had gone with that same attitude in this next exchange.
Why are you picking out random YouTube videos put up by people who are not me?
Are you
and then attributing the titles to me?
Ben could have playfully teased Andrew for not really knowing how the internet works, and if he'd done it in a lighthearted way with a genuine smile, it would have put some separation between the frustrating points they had and that moment, which is likely to make everything that comes after go more smoothly.
Oh my God, he actually wrote that out and said it. The quality of writing on his channel has really dipped off in recent months. By the way, I wanted to copy this part and put it in the script so I could read it back. But this video doesn't let me open a transcript. Charisma, hey, what the hell are you doing over there? Hello? That's right, I'm talking to you. You previously said, we are working on the Russell Brand video, so I assume that means you have a team? Are they the one who's turning your scripts into word salad, or is that you? Look, okay, I get, even if you don't have the time to put all of your audio into text for subtitles, right? YouTube automatically generates a transcript for your videos, you know, from the automated captions, which means you disabled it. Why? You disabled automatically generated captions and you have no manual captions to replace it? Why? You have 3 million subscribers. You're not a small nobody like me. There's no excuse for this. So, who's the we? What is your team doing? Honestly, I should just stop the video right here, but we're not even halfway through yet.
Continuing, we also see from Ben frequently that he often speaks very quickly.
It's almost like you watched my previous video.
Now, in addition to speaking fast, Ben's voice also remains fairly flat in terms of its intonation.
Yes, I would vote for Mr. Trump if it were a race between Biden and Trump, because I think that the damage that President Trump has done to the country on a character and rhetorical level.
Again, this is a very common habit of Ben's. There's nothing wrong with it, but it does serve the purpose that he is normally doing, which he sees in an argument going back and forth.
You know what I learned after editing the previous Charisma on Command video? It's that Charisma on Command's voice also kind of sounds like how he's describing Ben Shapiro's voice here. I spent far too much time researching and editing this. These voices sound really similar, and now I hear them in my head and in my sleep. It's him. He haunts me. He's the monster that comes out of the closet. Oh, wait, no. That's not what I meant to say. I'm gonna eat you. I'm coming for you, He-Man. Oh, I mean, Beto O'Rourke. This is such a dumb gag. You can hear him in your head after you do enough of this. Hey, hold on. I actually have some advice I can give the both of you, right? Get yourself a big box of tissues. I know you probably already have them on standby. You tweet angrily at AOC. I get what's going on there. But look, just get yourself a nice tissue, right? Okay, go get some wasabi and get all that snot out of your nose.
He's not using softening inflections to change his pitch. Now, we do those softening inflections when we're enthusiastic or when we're joking or when we want others to feel comfortable around us, like you might have felt in that last sentence. A pitch change can also be used at the end of a statement to completely change the feeling. Listen to how Jordan Peterson responds to Kathy's question here.
You don't believe in equal pay?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Congratulations, you have discovered tone. Also, in the previous video, Charisma praised Shapiro for not getting emotional. So, you know, that's fun.
All that said, it is important to note that Andrew Neil was also displaying a lot of the same argumentative body language and tonalities throughout this interview.
He what? No.
Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest?
Mr.
Seriously,
Shapiro,
it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it.
Immediately after you say this, you give a clip of Andrew Neil giving a genuine laugh. This clip shows Neil deflating the question with humor, which he just recommended we do with Russell Brand. So seriously, Charisma, do you even read your scripts? You had to write this, record it, and edit it. How do you screw up this badly? So I guess if we were to be charitable here, the point that Charisma on Command is trying to make is that Neil contributed to escalating the conversation.
Both men pushed the conversation forward in a way that predictably escalated into what you might call a heated discussion.
But like, so what? The point here is not connected to the thesis, as Neil here did not, quote unquote, embarrass himself. Really, the only similarity Neil has to Shapiro's performance is his body language. And if you wanted to say that, well, Maybe you should have put that part in the body language section.
And when you're on TV, this can be advantageous. It might give you a chance to humiliate your opponent and get famous on YouTube.
Yep, that's the goal.
What determines if something that gets heated winds up as a full-blown verbal fight is the mindset that is going into it. Namely, whether both parties feel like they are on the same or different teams.
Well, in a sense, they are on the same team because they're both conservatives. Am I right?
When you have the mindset that you're on the same team as the person you're talking to, your goal is to try to find common ground. It doesn't matter necessarily how you get there. But when you perceive that you're on different teams, the goal is to win. They have to be destroyed or come to your original position.
Hey Charisma, you forgot to add this video clip. I think it is relevant.
So the only other reason that you should ever have a conversation or be friends with anyone on the left is, and not even be friends, is if you are in public in front of a large audience and then your goal is to humiliate them as badly as possible. That is the goal of the conversation. The goal is not to convince the person. The goal is not to make friends with that person. The conversations that are going to make the most difference on campus are the ones where you're in public in front of large groups of people or with a camera nearby, and your goal then is to make these people look as bad as possible.
Hey Charisma, it is funny how you never mention these things when talking about your heroes, you sad fuckboy.
Ben Shapiro has a pretty strong anti-abortion stance and will treat any opposition to it as hostile. It doesn't matter if they are a conservative or not. Neil asked Shapiro about extreme abortion laws for women suffering miscarriages, and he took that as hostility. And in a sense, it was.
And if you're not sure of someone else's mindset, I recommend that you assume for as long as you can that you are on the same team.
But Shapiro's team is of the mindset that women who suffer miscarriages should be in prison. So kind of hard to be on the same team as that.
Part of that means that you need to be charitable when you're trying to assume their motivations. Don't read their mind and insist that you know why they're doing what they're doing.
Have you watched my videos? Is this for me? I don't think it is. I'm really small. But is it though? It could be.
I was like, why do people hate Charisma on Command? So I started looking up negative things about us off our channel. And there's subsets of Reddit that are convinced that they know my political affiliations and that our channel is and by subsets, I mean a couple dozen people. Sure. That our political that we are a gateway channel to radical, alt-right views, and because we normalize Jordan Peterson. And that's my other hypothesis. I really do not think it's...
You think it's because you covered Jordan Peterson and Trump?
It could
and Ben
be.
Shapiro?
You can absolutely reasonably assume what someone's motivations are through inductive reasoning. That is, of course, if you are moderately experienced and intelligent. However, this takes a holistic approach, right? You need to examine their actions outside of a singular example. It's easy with Ben Shapiro because he posts all the time.
But this host has actually had a long history with conservative news. And if you look at other interviews, you see that he uses the same type of prodding questioning with those on the left. Ben was actually wrong. And this is a good reason why you shouldn't assume malintent or read minds. You will very frequently, as certain as you are, be wrong. Now, one downside of this is that it alienates people regardless, as we saw in the video that we did with Brie Larson.
Is that like a personal attack or something? Or...
This is another weird arrangement of sentences. A good reason why you shouldn't assume malintent or read minds. You will very frequently be wrong. Okay, that makes sense. One downside of this is that it alienates people regardless. What? One downside of this is that it alienates people regardless. Is it a downside of assuming intent or reading minds? Or that's what you mean, right? But you already established that. Why is the second sentence written like it's a downside to something more positive? Is this a vestigial edit left over from an earlier draft? Also, of course he went to Brie Larson. Oh God. We're not wasting this video's time on that video. Good Lord. I'm betting we can probably guess what it's about. Shitting on her while putting it in all this charisma life coach talk and speak. So that way you can really say, I'm not really shitting on her. I'm just giving an examination of her charisma and why people don't like her. And then, you know, all the sexist weirdos in your audience are like, yeah. That's all I got. By the way, that's the second ad for another video of his in this video. So I guess that means I should shout out another one of mine. And why I'm a soy boy, I pour soy milk over my body. That was a fun one. It's the most sexual content on this channel. Or maybe watch the cute cat compilation. I have full monetized ads on that one.
And it moves the discussion towards a full-blown verbal throwdown, which often leads to insults. Now, the difference between an insult and an argument is that the insult is about the individual instead of their content.
Well, an insult can also be about content. For example, if you think that was bad, let me introduce you to this other guy. He's kind of a big deal. You might have heard of him. His name is Ben Shapiro. He even did it in your previous video, Charisma. You used the clip of him doing it. Yo, quick note, by the way, I didn't point this out last time in the last video, but I found it in my notes. In the previous video from Charisma Command, the clip with Ben Shapiro and Piers Morgan, he kind of cut out the start of the particular exchange they were having. And the way he cut it kind of made it look like Piers Morgan brought up the standing on the graves of dead children thing. In reality, Shapiro said that about Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan was asking what the fuck is up with that. The Charisma Command edit kind of made it look like Piers Morgan brought that up.
American. So why am I off the rails, Mr. Shapiro?
Honestly, Piers, you've kind of been a bully on this issue because what you do, and I've seen it repeatedly on your show, I watch your show, and I've seen it repeatedly, what you tend to do is you tend to demonize people who differ from you politically by standing on the graves of the children of Sandy Hook, saying they don't seem to care enough about the dead kids. If they cared more about the dead kids, they would agree with you on policy. I think we can have a rational political conversation about balancing rights and risks and rewards of all of these different policies, but I don't think that what we need to do is demonize people on the other side as being unfeeling about what happened in Sandy Hook.
How dare you accuse me of standing on the graves of the children that died there? How dare you?
I've seen you do it repeatedly, Piers.
Particularly when the other person gets upset or offended. Now, when Piers Morgan did that, Ben wisely didn't engage him because simply being offended doesn't prove anything.
Accuse me of standing on the graves of the children that died there. How dare you?
I've seen you do it repeatedly, Piers.
He cuts it so it literally says, standing on the graves of children, how dare you. But CLC cut out the first part of this exchange where Shapiro accused Piers Morgan of doing this. Charisma would then go on to praise Shapiro for his response to Morgan's indignation. So here we are, several months later, and Charisma's gone full circle. Now he's saying, don't do that. So, that's lovely. That's just lovely.
And it's aimed at proving superiority rather than finding common ground, as you see here.
The fact that I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you.
Okay, so like, do you seriously not know who Ben Shapiro is?
In addition to just offending people, insults actually make things worse for you because they don't give other people a way to save face if they've actually had their mind changed to your side.
Yeah, right? Like that time when Shapiro here was calling trans people delusional and was calling a trans woman sir directly to her face. Here's the clip. Here's your warning. Here's the clip.
Yes! Why are we mainstreaming delusion?
It's not delusion.
Why would you call it delusion?
Because Bruce Caitlyn Jenner, I'll call him Caitlyn Jenner.
No,
because
it's
that's
her. You're not being polite to the pronouns.
Because
disrespectful.
Okay, forget about the disrespect. Facts don't care about your feelings.
So you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you like to discuss the genetics? Or
Well, no,
what
no.
are your genetics? Sir?
So I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
Watching that makes me so uncomfortable. Oh, God. So, okay, question for y'all. It's focusing on his face. Okay, so question for y'all. Using that clip as an example, did that make him dominant at debate, or did he embarrass himself? Wait, which do you think Charisma would say? What's it gonna be? COC? Probably makes you uncomfortable too. And I want you to associate that feeling with Charisma on command. Make a video about the charisma involved in that, ya creep.
You are much benefited by creating a path back to civil conversation, a path to seeing things in your own way without the other person feeling ashamed. Now, Russell Brand does this by not calling the host out directly in his interview with MSNBC.
I really don't get why he goes back to this Russell Brand. Maybe I'm missing something? Oh, but I'm really not picking up on this in the interview. They really don't seem particularly hostile to him. And the tone of the conversation is pretty laid back. But hey, watch it yourself. You can be the judge. This is pretty much just Brand being his usual self. He does a lot of whining about whatever his mind happens to be on. Charisma, are you okay? Because what the fuck's going on here? Do the rest of y'all ever get a feeling of doubt when you see something and you don't understand it? And you see something and it doesn't quite make sense to you, but you think, well, no, this has to be right? Because it's got to be me that's wrong. That feeling is almost what I have going on in my head right here, right now. But I know everything, so fuck you. But hey, maybe he's just phoning it in at this point because he's at 3.28 million subscribers and there's only so many ways you can repackage everything that's said and how to win friends and influence people.
Contrast that with Ben, who does start using insults, and try to imagine someone coming around to your side of things after you say this.
You know, honestly, this is a giant waste of time.
All that to say, even if you feel like you have a real zinger, don't use insults. They don't benefit you.
Are you like me and afraid of dying alone? Well, you know what they say, just become a bus driver.
But let's say it's too late. Insults have already been thrown around. Now we're in a verbal fight. And this is where Ben really lost. This is why people feel like he was destroyed. And it actually has nothing to do with the merit of the points being debated.
It's too late. We're in a real fight. I'm just kidding. The points weren't actually being debated in this, but let's put that aside. I actually kind of zoned out here at first and didn't realize what was being said in this video, which is kind of strange.
What matters is who acts like they are winning.
Some are saying that you're bipolar.
I'm bi-winning. And there are several traits that we look for as an audience to judge this. First off, we're trying to see who is least emotionally affected. Typically speaking, the winner of any altercation is going to be calmer because he's happy with the position that he's in.
Remember the context that Neil was not seeking a debate, but rather he was giving an interview and a platform so that Shapiro could explain and sell his ideology. Shapiro is still that socially incompetent little loser kid who got shoved into lockers all the time, but it was his own fault because everybody hated him because he was probably mega racist. And because of his social incompetence, he didn't realize this and he went into full attack mode. He thought it was time for blood sports. So he's essentially a little chihuahua barking at the mailman, even though the mailman's giving him treats. Also, and I would like to stress, I'm not defending Shapiro here, but Andrew Neil was, for the most part, reading from a script throughout this entire interview. Much easier to maintain a flat, monotonous demeanor when all you're doing is reading.
And the ability to get heated and then quickly calm down is incredibly valuable if you want to look like you're winning in an argument. Quentin Tarantino displays it really well in an older interview, first getting into a heated argument over a question about violence in his movies.
It's my job to try and ask you to.
And I'm shutting your butt down.
And
yeah, but like, Tarantino's a serial killer, so...
Now, the second thing we look for when deciding who is actually winning is who doesn't resort to attacking or taking things off subject. When you pull away from the current topic of conversation, it appears to an audience as if you don't have a solid answer. And when Ben dodges questions and turns them back on Andrew, we get that same impression.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
Hey, wait a minute. Charisma. In your last video, you praised Shapiro for his use of snuck premises.
One of the big ways that I see him stump his opponents is through the use of snuck premises. Essentially, you introduce the exact point of contention as a given. So first off, see if you can find the snuck premise in this next case.
From Planned Parenthood, as you may have noticed, I'm mostly against abortion. If you want to go to Planned Parenthood and get a contraceptive, go for it. I don't care. I do care when you start killing babies. This is a problem for me.
Why the fuck is this any different?
We're also looking to see who is fidgeting less. Now, Ben actually does a pretty good job here of steadying himself. He takes a deep breath, but we do see some hints of discomfort come through at the end. Compared to Andrew, though, he is far more uncomfortable with stillness.
To produce, that's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on, but so much of what you've said in the past would seem to turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
Yeah, to an extent, but what a weird thing to bring up. What a weird thing to even notice. Is this the bottom of the barrel? Does fidgeting seriously count towards embarrassing yourself in an argument? Does it? Also, this should have been in your earlier point at the start of the video about body language, but hey, it's too late now. Your script is all 20 ways screwed. I'm guessing you can't be fucked to edit this.
The fourth thing that we're looking for is to see who comfortably talks more over the other person, who is ceding power willingly. It's not a rational rule of thumb, but when we see someone dominate a conversation like that, we assume that they're winning.
Nah, talking over others like that, we assume you're an asshole.
So I hope that helps you to understand what kind of went down in the Ben Shapiro interview and how you might avoid a similar fate in your own life.
Good Lord, I hope people are not religiously following this guy. What horrible advice. I can do better life advice for y'all. Don't be like Ben Shapiro. Is that it? That's all it is? Can I make my own website now where I charge people $600 a month so you can learn how to be charismatic? And that's it. Just don't be Ben Shapiro. That's all it takes? Man, this last frame really does not sell me on this. Look, it kind of looks like a Charisma for Dummies book that doesn't really teach you anything. It just goes over all the basic stuff 99% of the population already knows. Oh, but look, if you're sold on this, you can check out Charisma University. I'm sure that's a great use of your time and money. Charisma University, Prager University. What's with these people and their obsession with seeming academic? A fun little thing I noticed though, the comments of this newer video are very different than the older one. People here are shitting on Shapiro and making fun of him, while the other was filled with a lot of praise. What do you make of that?
Ben's tactics when they're at their best, because at least in the eyes of the internet, he's often on the other side of the destroying.
Hi, fuckboy social engineering wannabe celiac attack here again. Do you suffer from social anxiety? Well, for 6 easy payments of $600, I have a 6-step program for you. It's called 6 Shots of Whiskey. By the way, while I've got y'all here, can I interest you in checking out a pretty good video by Michelle Zulli? I believe that's her name. It's called Don't Trust Charisma on Command. I discovered this video while doing research for this one. She actually paid money for Charisma on Command's university, it seems, and kind of goes through some of it. Worth checking out. It's in the description if you want to see it. I just realized I'm giving out a serious recommendation while in the caricature of Charisma on Command. I didn't mean to do that. Yo, I'd like to thank those patron backers I love so much. Jari Pulalamo, I'm sorry I'm an American and can't get your name right. Joshua Moldenhauer, and Susie M. You know, Patreon ain't no Charisma University, but it's the next best thing. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. Fuck this shit. Yep. Now, backing me on Patreon doesn't get you all the fancy stuff like Charisma University does. But what could I say, eh? I don't have anything else to say.